Allison walked slowly along the boardwalk. She was returning home from work. It was a difficult day. She was on her feet all day long, and by late afternoon, she felt the pain in her lower abdomen and lower back. Her baby was restlessly tossing and turning in her belly at first, and then stopped. Allison worried about whether the baby was okay. There was only one thing to make her happy on this gloomy evening. Vincent was supposed to visit her tonight, and Allison was thinking about what she would buy at the grocery store to make a delicious dinner. She wanted to go on maternity leave as soon as possible to spend more time with her beloved and enjoy this pregnancy. But maternity was still a month and a half away. Now she could only dream of waking up in the morning and cuddling in bed, making breakfast slowly, and then taking long, pleasant walks in the park, or just relaxing on the waterfront and watching the beautiful sunset. She also dreamed of buying different things for the baby. She imagined shopping, maybe even together with Vincent, holding hands and laughing, discussing what stroller or crib they would buy for their son or daughter, and if Vincent finally decided to move out of his mother's house and live with her as he promised, they would argue in the evenings about what name they should choose for the baby. Allison had high hopes for tonight. She thought that tonight Vincent would ask her to live with him, or even ask her to marry him. While thinking about it, she didn't immediately hear the phone vibrate in her purse. The girl usually turned off the sound at work, but today, on her way home, she forgot to switch off silent mode. At first, Allison didn't even realize why it sounded so quiet and somewhat timid, as if her phone didn't want her to hear and answer the call. "Hi, Allison," she heard the voice that was so dear. The mother-to-be wanted to hear this voice as she thought about her baby. It was the voice of her beloved, the voice of the father of that baby. "Vincent, hello. Why are you calling? Have you changed your plans? You promised to come tonight. I'm about to cook dinner," the girl replied. "Look, I'm not coming. I'll never come to you again. I thought about it and decided I'm not ready for a serious relationship, and I don't want this baby," the man muttered quietly and timidly. "Vincent, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't want this baby? I'm 6 months pregnant." Allison didn't want to believe the harsh words she had just heard. "I think we should break up. I'm sorry, but go on without me. From now on, you have your life and I have mine. And there's nothing between you and me. That's it. Goodbye." And Vincent hung up. In a moment, the whole world collapsed. Allison was standing on the sidewalk. Random passers-by were rushing past her, and she couldn't move. Her eyes were staring at one point, and she couldn't see anything else. Her brain refused to believe what had happened. She thought she was sleeping and having a nightmare. This nightmare would be over soon, and everything would be okay again. "Help! Help!" Allison heard a sharp scream and came to her senses. She flinched and immediately rushed toward the sound of the scream. Near the boardwalk, she saw some movement behind the trees. She got a little closer and realized a guy was lying on the ground, and 3 drunken men were kicking him. "Get out of our country, migrant! What the hell do you want here? Go home! Don't make us so angry!" The thugs were kicking a young, foreign-looking guy, while a janitor was running around them and waving her hands helplessly. "Bastards!" Allison didn't panic and grabbed the lawn rake the janitor was using to rake up the leaves. "Get out of here, bastards!" When they saw the pregnant woman with a distraught look and the rake in her hands, the thugs quickly sobered up and decided to leave, continuing to swear and curse all the migrants everywhere. Allison dropped her threatening weapon and walked over to the boy to examine his wounds. "Can you talk?" the girl asked. "Yes," the guy said, breathing heavily. "Thank you." "Let me call an ambulance," Allison suggested. No, don't. I'm fine. They didn't have time to injure me too badly. You saved me," the guy mouthed, Get up, let me help you. You're dirty and they tore your clothes. Let's go to my place. You can wash your face and we'll wash your clothes. And we'll make sure you don't have a concussion. What's your name? The girl asked, helping him up. Daler, the boy answered. Oh, what a beautiful name. I'm Allison. It turned out that the guy came here from another country to work. He'd been working at a construction site for 3 months, and when payday came, his employer stopped answering the phone and didn't even pay a fifth of what he had to pay. I promised to send money to my mother. She's sick, and I have sisters growing up. I'm the only breadwinner in our family since my father died long ago. I used to send them everything I earned, but now I don't know what to do. Do I have to go back to the construction site to get scammed again? I might not get paid ever again, and I'll lose my time. They are dishonest people, but at home I have no chance to earn even this small amount of money. And my mother really needs help. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. On top of that, those thugs attacked me. They're completely insane. They shouted that it was my fault that they had a bad life. But what's my fault? Do I force them to drink alcohol? Do I forbid them to get a job? I didn't kick them and take their money. The guy told his story. Allison looked at the very young man and sympathized. Her heart was torn apart. She had to do something to help him. How did you have the guts to attack 3 big drunken guys alone? Even I was a little scared when I saw you with a rake in your hands. You're about to have a baby, but you weren't afraid? The boy muttered. You know, I was raised at an orphanage. I'm not used to being afraid. Allison smiled sadly. In the orphanage, if you're afraid and try to hide, you're a victim. And the victim gets hurt by absolutely everyone. And if you show everyone you're not weak, even if you have to fight, they'll respect you. That's why I'm used to attacking first instead of waiting for them to hurt me. And the rake, I have no idea what I was going to do with the rake. I just grabbed the first thing that came to hand. Allison laughed. Good thing they got away before I figured out how I was going to hit them with that rake. You're brave, said Daler admiringly. Not brave, but reckless, laughed Allison. I can't even imagine the horror these drunks have experienced. A woman with a huge belly and a rake in her hands running from behind the trees. You're pretty and very young. How old are you? The guy asked embarrassedly. I'm 22. What about you, Daler? I'm sorry, but you look like a teenager, Allison replied. I'm 18. I'm an adult, the boy said confidently. Allison looked at this adult. As he said, he was not afraid to go to another country, where he was despised and deceived, just to get money for his mother's treatment. Suddenly she thought of Vincent. He was 28, had a good job, a steady income, a place to live, and a prosperous family. But he was not ready to take responsibility for his own baby. Allison cried. What happened? Did I hurt you? Worried Daler. No, it's just that I was listening to your story and thinking about how brave you are, and I suddenly thought of my own problems, so I felt unbearably sad, Allison said, wiping away her tears. Oh, please don't cry. Everything will be fine. You shouldn't be sad. It's bad for the baby. Smile more often, and the baby will feel good, the boy reassured her. You're a good guy, Daler. I'll try to help you out. And Allison kept her promise. The next day, she called her friend Haley, who helped the boy to get a job at the restaurant. Haley was friends with the manager of that restaurant and asked him to hire the boy, assuring him that Daler was responsible and hardworking. He couldn't make much money there, but the position of a janitor and a part-time watchman was very convenient for him. Working as a watchman, he could spend every night at the restaurant, so he didn't need to rent a place to live. In addition, the restaurant provided free meals for the staff, so Daler could send all the money he earned to his mother and sisters. The boy was very grateful to Allison and swore that someday he would thank her for everything she did for him. Take care of yourself, and don't let anyone else hurt you. I wish your mother good health, and I wish you that you always have a family and a home where you can come back whenever you want. Allison said goodbye. They said goodbye and went their own way. Allison gave birth to a boy, Alex. Vincent didn't come back to her. He didn't even call or ask about his son. Allison accepted the fact that Alex wouldn't have a father. Her friend Haley helped her as much as she could, going shopping or babysitting, so Allison could sleep or do the laundry. And everything would have been fine, but Alex was diagnosed with a heart defect that wasn't detected until after delivery. From then on, Allison's whole life began to revolve around her son's disorder. The baby was very weak and often sick. At the slightest physical exertion, he became pale and breathed heavily. While most children his age were running around the playgrounds, Alex sat with his mother on the bench and could only dream of playing games, running fast and fighting with other boys. Allison took him to the pool so that the boy could get some physical activity. But still, she always felt that her son could feel bad at any moment. She was afraid she might lose him. When Alex turned 6, the boy's conditions suddenly worsened, and he urgently needed surgery. Previously, the doctors thought that he would gradually get better over the years, but now it was clear that the surgery could no longer be postponed. They needed a lot of money. Poor Allison always knew this day might come, but still, she wasn't ready for it. She had almost no money, and the doctors insisted that Alex needed urgent hospitalization. Allison decided to find Vincent. She realized that in all these years, he had never called or tried to find her and ask about their son. But she was desperate and hoped that his conscience would finally awake. Mrs. Morrison, Vincent's mother, opened the door. Allison hadn't seen the woman in a long time, and actually, Vincent had never introduced them. "Hello, excuse me, is Vincent home?" asked Allison. "Who are you?" the elderly woman wondered. "Don't you remember me? I dated your son a long time ago, almost 6 years ago," Allison replied. "Allison?" the woman asked in surprise. "Yes, it's me. Mrs. Morrison, is your son at home?" the girl asked timidly. "Oh, Allison, he's in jail," the woman replied sadly. "In jail? What happened?" The girl was shocked. She hadn't expected to hear that from his mother. Vincent was never inclined to break the law or commit crimes. Allison glanced at the living room where the woman who could have been her mother-in-law years ago invited her. Obviously, they were wealthy, a big house, expensive natural wood furniture. It wasn't like Vincent had to rob to survive. What did he do? Why did he end up in jail? Allison asked. "Allison, when he broke up with you, he met some bad girl. From the first moment I saw her, I knew there was no good outcome. I often fought with him. I begged him not to get involved in anything this girl would offer, but he wouldn't listen to me. That bitch got him into drug business. He was supposed to distribute drugs. Vincent did everything for her, but she couldn't get enough. She wanted more. I couldn't stop crying when he got arrested. And that bitch broke up with Vincent and left the city with another man. Both of them were doing it, but only Vincent ended up in jail." Mrs. Morrison muttered and cried. At that moment, Allison felt sorry for the lonely old woman. "Allison, why are you here? Do you need something? Why are you looking for Vincent?" she asked, wiping away her tears. Her face filled with hope. Maybe this strong young woman still loved her good-for-nothing son. Maybe she would be willing to wait for him and take care of him while he was in jail. Maybe she's willing to take care of her old mother-in-law, too. "Did you know that Vincent and I were supposed to have a baby? Vincent has a son. His name is Alex." Allison was sure that Vincent had never told his mother that his girlfriend was expecting a baby. She was wrong. "Yes, I knew you were pregnant," Mrs. Morrison replied. "Frankly, I was the one who persuaded Vincent not to marry you and take responsibility for the family and the baby. I'm not going to lie, it was my fault that he left you. I'm so sorry. Didn't you have an abortion?" "What abortion are you talking about? It was 28 weeks, Allison replied angrily. "Well, induced labor or whatever it's called. It's possible even in late pregnancy. It's not a big deal," shrugged the woman who had just found out she had become a grandmother. "And why didn't you ever call and show your son?" Allison was shocked at how easily this woman confessed that she had persuaded her son to break up with his pregnant girlfriend. She didn't understand why Vincent's mother hadn't even asked about her grandson's fate in all those years. And now she was blaming Allison for not getting rid of Alex. And once she gave birth, not calling and showing the baby. Let's not talk about the past right now. Allison decided to get over herself and ask for help after all. The thing is, your grandson Alex is terminally ill. He needs heart surgery. Please, help us even a little. If you help him, you will save his life. I've never asked you for help, but I'm desperate now. Mrs. Morrison's face became deliberately sympathetic. Oh, I'm so sorry, but there's nothing I can do. You know, I've been living alone for almost 4 years since Vincent got into jail. I got into debt when I was trying to get Vincent out, so I'm sorry, but I can't help you. After losing interest in Allison, the woman hurried to say goodbye to her, saying that she was busy. Actually, Allison didn't want to stay in that inhospitable house anymore. The door slammed shut behind her, and she walked out of the yard with a sigh. Why did I get so upset? Was I really hoping she would help us? I shouldn't come to this house ever again. There are many decent people in this world. I believe that someone will help me and Alex after all. But who? The woman thought. By now, Allison had called everyone she could and owed money to everyone she knew. She managed to get a small loan from the bank, but she still didn't have enough money. Vincent was her last hope, but even that faint hope had burst like a bubble. She needed to do something urgently. Allison stopped at an intersection and reflected. Where should she go? Who else should she ask for help? Various charitable organizations came to mind, but Allison realized that if she and Alex applied there, they would only get into a huge line of people with sick children. But she didn't have time to wait. A car pulled up sharply beside Allison, and she even stepped back in surprise. At the same moment, the car door swung open, and a smiling, unfamiliar man looked out. Allison, is that you? It's been a long time since I've seen you, the stranger said. Allison tried to think of who it could be, but she couldn't remember. It's me, Daler, the man said. At the same moment, all the events that had happened more than 6 years ago flashed before the girl's eyes. She remembered the young migrant she had saved from drunken troublemakers. Daler, I didn't recognize you right away. You've changed a lot. Matured. Now you really look like an adult. Allison laughed happily. Yeah, now I'm definitely an adult. I saw you at the intersection and immediately recognized you. Get in, I'll give you a ride. Where are you going? The man offered. You know, I don't know where I should go yet. Can you take me home? Allison asked modestly. Sure, the man replied confidently. At home, Allison made tea, and they talked for a long time. Daler told her about his life. I'm not sure if you remember, but back then I got a job in a restaurant with your help. For almost 6 months, I worked there as a janitor and a watchman. It was hard, but I didn't complain. I sent all the money to my mother. When I got my first paycheck, I bought flowers and came to see you. I wanted to thank you, but I was afraid of what your husband would say. He probably doesn't know that you saved me, risking yourself and the baby. I was going to say thank you for helping me get a job, but I couldn't find you at your old address. I didn't know your friend Haley either, and I couldn't find you or her. At first, I wanted to ask the restaurant manager, but then I thought if I came to you with flowers, your husband wouldn't be happy. Daler smiled. His smile was very sincere, and he was so handsome that if Allison's head wasn't busy with problems, she probably could have fallen in love with this young man right there. And Daler went on. I gave the flowers to the old lady outside your building, and I thought I would just pray for you and your family. Yeah, I moved to another apartment to save money, and I don't have a husband, and never had. Alex's father left us the day we met. I wasn't myself that day. Allison smiled sadly. Wow, no way. You were in so much trouble that day, but you rushed to help a stranger? Especially since you were pregnant. I've never met anyone as kind and brave as you. There are no others like you in the whole world, the man said with admiration. Thank you, but you're exaggerating. I think there are many kind people in the world. After all, you're doing fine now. Someone helped you too, Allison said. You won't believe it, but you helped me with this too. You taught me to help people without thinking about myself. That's what happened to me while I was working in the restaurant. One night I went out to the backyard of our restaurant and saw that someone had stolen the manhole cover. I rushed to find some planks to cover it so no one would fall in. At that moment, our manager's youngest son was riding his bicycle and fell into the manhole. He didn't even have time to understand what happened. As it turned out, the manhole was very deep and full of water. I decided to go down. The boy hit his head and was unconscious. I took him in my arms so he wouldn't get drowned and started screaming and calling for help. Suddenly, I realized I should have called for help before I went down the manhole. Fortunately, the waiter went out for a smoke, heard me screaming, and got us out. The restaurant manager was grateful that I had saved his son. He gave me some money. I was able to buy a car and start a small business. My sisters got married. Their husbands are very good and well off. My mother now lives with one of my sisters. She takes care of her. And my second sister's husband also moved here. We're business partners and recently opened our second national cuisine restaurant. So now I'll be happy to see you and your son at my restaurant anytime. My sister became a famous chef and now works in my restaurant. She'll cook for you delicacies you've never tasted before. Come with your son. By the way, how old is he? About 6 years old, right? Where is he now? The man looked questioningly at Allison. I'm so happy for you, Daler. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go to the restaurants and have fun. Alex is in the hospital. Allison tried to hold back her tears, but she cried anyway. Strong women also cry sometimes. Daler was shocked. I'm sorry, I didn't know. What happened, Allison? He asked. And Allison told the man about her life, about Alex, and about what his only grandmother had done to them today. Allison, I don't think our meeting was an accident. Destiny brought us together again. Back then, your fiancé left you and you met me. You saved me. Today, his mother hurt you, and we met again. Why? Because you believe in people. And not just believe, but you help people. And they won't leave you in trouble either. The man calmed Allison down. I want to believe that they won't leave me in trouble. Allison smiled weakly through her tears. She felt that something good was finally beginning to happen in her miserable, lonely life. She didn't realize what it was yet. After all, she had never had a reliable man in her life. She never had anyone at all. And Daler kept going on. I won't leave you in trouble. Do you trust me, Allison? He spoke firmly and clearly so that this desperate, nice woman would hear him and believe him. Now you and Alex have me. Even if I have to be a watchman and a janitor again, I'll help you anyway. If I have to, I'll sell the business and the car, and then I'll start all over again. My sisters and mother are fine now. They don't need my help anymore. But you need it, and I owe you my life. Then he glanced at Allison's shabby room, which she had recently moved into to save money, and said firmly, Pack, right now. I won't let you live here. Allison was shocked and asked him in surprise, Daler, but I have nowhere else to go. You're coming with me. I have a big house. I live alone, so there's enough room for everyone. After all, we're not strangers. And tomorrow morning, we'll go to the hospital and schedule Alex's surgery. You said it was urgent, and don't say no. I won't take no for an answer. I promise I'll do everything for you. As it turned out, Daler was a good negotiator. He knew how to talk to Allison, so he didn't ask, but spoke affirmatively and confidently. Allison realized that from now until her last breath, she would never be alone again. Finally, there was a real man in her life. He wasn't even 24 yet, but he was more mature and responsible than some people in their 30s or their 50s. Now Allison was sure that Alex would be well. A woman's intuition told her that she would be happy too, not just as a mother, but as a woman, loved and protected by her man.